In Beijing, the party Politburo decides to shift monetary policy towards loosening. And mandatory in-car CCTV and digital payment platforms in Hong Kong taxis before 2026. The Politburo Standing Committee of the Chinese Communist Party has decided to shift monetary policy towards loosening for the first time since 2010. China's highest decision-making body said it would adopt an appropriately loose policy stance that it hopes supports a slowing economy and prepares China for a potential trade war with the incoming U.S. administration under Donald Trump. The central bank has 5 policy stances: loose, appropriately loose, prudent, appropriately tight, and tight, with flexibility on either side of each. China had a prudent policy since late 2010. Trump has vowed to impose hefty tariffs on Chinese goods when he takes office on January 20th. Politburo members were meeting before this week's annual Central Economic Work Conference, which will set out key targets and policy intentions for 2025. In its remarks, it said China must vigorously boost consumption and expand domestic demand in all directions. Some analysts say the wording points to strong fiscal stimulus, big rate cuts, and asset buying in 2025. China's economy is growing slightly slower than the 5% target in annual terms, and its property sector is still struggling. The government has mandated that all taxis must install in-car CCTV cameras and provide digital payment platforms before 2026. Timothy Lee tells us more.
As digital payments slowly become the norm, many taxi drivers in Hong Kong are still only willing to accept payments in cash, often at the expense of tourist convenience.
E-payment is very convenient nowadays, especially because we're tourists, so our cash is very limited.
This as the Transport and Logistics Bureau earlier proposed that all taxis must offer digital payment platforms for both QR code and non-QR code options, including Octopus cards, credit cards, WeChat Pay, or Alipay. But some taxi drivers voiced their concerns about the measure. This driver said it's difficult to implement all these changes and that they are unnecessary burdens. Regarding concerns about increased operational costs, this honorary president of a Taxi Owners Association hopes authorities will extend the measure's adjustment period, adding that drivers currently using digital payment platforms often experience the lack of cellular service near the border. Besides payment systems, the government's proposal also mandates all taxis to install in-car CCTV cameras and a global positioning system, or GPS. The former will have audio recording capabilities as well as the ability to capture clear footage of both the driver and passengers. The measure aims to provide authorities with evidence while investigating in-car disputes. Some drivers share their thoughts on the matter. This man said there's no need for it, as he thinks all his conversations will be recorded. While this man said disputes often happen and that the cameras will provide him with a sense of security. The government proposed that the recorded information will remain encrypted and that they will be discarded after 30 days. They added the recorded videos or audio will only be uploaded to the central system if passengers' complaints are received or during accidents. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Still ahead, an overseas travel ban imposed on South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol. The Electrical and Mechanical Services Department criticized for a data breach incident. And a story about Chinese volunteers providing free meals and education to slum dwellers in Kenya. Welcome back. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is still in control of the military despite an overseas travel ban order on him by the Justice Ministry. Yoon is under investigation for his short-lived declaration of martial law last week. A Justice Ministry official told a parliamentary hearing that Yoon is banned from leaving the country following requests by police, prosecutors, and the anti-corruption agency. Authorities are investigating allegations of rebellion and other charges over Yoon's brief imposition of martial law last Tuesday. The martial law decree brought armed special forces troops onto the streets of Seoul, plunging South Korea into turmoil. The president mostly has immunity from prosecution while in office, but it does not extend to allegations of rebellion or treason. With the stark disparities of wealth, over 40% of the population in Kenya's capital live in slums. A number of Chinese volunteers have embarked on a mission to provide free education and meals to the slum dwellers. They hope to help address poverty and build a better future for the East African nation using China's experience. Danny Zhou has more.
Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, is known as the financial center of East Africa. But it's also home to around 2.5 million slum dwellers. Inside Kenya's second largest slum, over 600,000 people live in extremely crowded conditions. The per capita income here is estimated at only 200 Hong Kong dollars per month. After paying their rent and utility charges, many residents struggle to make ends meet. Some have resorted to scavenging to survive. For the impoverished children, going to school has become a luxury. Yin Binbin and a number of Chinese youths came to the slums 10 years ago to serve as volunteer teachers. The classroom is simple and rudimentary, but Yin taught his students to cherish their opportunity to study. Knowledge can change destiny, he told them. Free breakfast and lunch are also provided. A bowl of sweet porridge is a hearty meal for the kids and also a sign of care that helps them move forward. Ian elaborated on the social problems caused by poverty. In the past, some local girls got pregnant because of the lack of food, while youngsters who do not receive education would likely turn into hooligans. So, as long as the children can get fed at school, they will have the chance to get out of the slum in future, he said. Besides primary courses, the school also organizes a variety of extracurricular activities. The Slum World Cup is staged on this day. Many students hope to use their football dreams to make a difference.
I like Chinese. We like to appreciate them for their kindness, for bringing all of this.
Yin said he wants the slum students to be seen and paid attention to through these activities. He hopes he could introduce China's experience in poverty alleviation to Kenya one day and tell the outside world what the Belt and Road Initiative is really about: friendship and wholehearted support. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Back locally, the Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data, or PCPD, has published 2 sets of investigation findings. The first set of findings relates to the data breach incident involving the Electrical and Mechanical Services Department, or EMSD, and the personal data of over 17,000 people. In its second investigation, the privacy watchdog also criticized online recruiting platform JobsDB for allowing organizations to place recruitment advertisements without disclosing the company's names. Samantha Lee tells us more.
During the pandemic, some government department staff were deployed to carry out COVID-19 tests for local residents. EMSD hired a contractor to conduct 14 tests from March to July in 2022. 14 e-forms were created to collect 17,000 people's data, including their names, HKID numbers, and telephone numbers. It was not until April this year that EMSD learned about a data leak. PCPD found that the data was in cloud storage, and the contractor's contract expired at February 2023. EMSD thought the cloud storage would be invalidated upon expiry of the contract, and the data would be automatically deleted by the contractor. However, in April this year, a local resident found that the data could be accessed without logging into any account or using any password. PCPD identified 4 deficiencies on the part of EMSD, including failure to request the contractor to delete the data and the fact that the department had never followed up on the matter. In response to the incident, EMSD issued a statement saying it will take the issue seriously and strengthen data security management. In another case, PCPD found that JobsDB allowed organizations to publish recruitment advertisements in the name of a private advertiser. These so-called blind ads do not contain enough information for job seekers to identify the organization, but invite job applicants to submit their personal data.
Through the findings of the investigation, the Privacy Commissioner would also like to call upon other operators of online recruitment platforms to beware of anyone using blind ads to perpetrate frauds or collect personal data by unfair means.
The Privacy Commissioner also urged job seekers to check the information contained in the blind ads before submitting their personal data. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Judge Song Man-lay was earlier sworn in for her 3-year term as president of Macau's Court of Final Appeal. She pledged to continue ushering in judicial reform in the SAR while deepening cooperation with Heng Chin. Danny Zhou tells us more.
Song Man-lay made history as Macau's first female top judge, taking over from Chief Executive Designate Sam Ho-fai. Now 58 years old, she initially served as an assistant prosecutor at the Public Prosecution's Office before rising to the highest court more than 10 years ago. Song shared her insights into her new post in a recent interview. She said it is hoped that the new administration in Macau can constantly improve its work and implement the principle of one country, two systems. There are currently 52 judges in Macau. Song said she's delighted to see new judges joining the team, adding that the number of court cases is on the rise as a result of Macau's social development and economic boom. One of the major tasks of the highest court is to further promote judicial reform. Song vowed to adopt measures to enhance judicial efficiency. She also said members of the judiciary participate actively in international and interregional judicial assistance. In particular, efforts will be made to fully engage the SAR's judicial work in the development of the Greater Bay Area. Comprehensive judicial cooperation is expected in the Guangdong-Macau In-Depth Cooperation Zone in Hengqin, Song said. Some mainland courts have put forward a cross-border enforcement mechanism which will provide solid guarantees for the rule of law in Hengqin and Macau. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. See you then.